Good afternoon, family. Thanks for checking out today's video. If you are new here, my name is Jonathan, and I created this channel as a way to record my progress as I work towards my goal of losing 300 pounds in 3 years. If you'd like to join the family, hit that subscribe button down below. Also, click on the bell icon so you get alerted when I go live or post new videos. If you'd like to participate on the discussion, you can join me most weekdays when I go live around 4 p.m. Central Time. Or outside of my live stream, you could consider joining the Discord I created. There's a link for that down in the description below. Also in the description below there is a link to a Pinterest board. A lot of times we get asked, or I get asked what food I'm eating to help me with my weight loss. That Pinterest board's a great place to see some of the different meals that we've been eating. Today is day 768 of my 3-year challenge to lose 300 pounds. I've used a combination of extended water fasting and a whole food, plant-based, salt, oil, sugar-free diet to lose over 230 pounds so far. I'm a little bit over 25 months into the challenge. I have a little over 10 months left, 10 and a half months left. So I'm looking forward to reaching my goal and living the rest of my life at a healthy weight. Let's go ahead and if anybody has any non-scale victories, I'd love to hear those. If anybody has any on-scale victories, I love those as well. If you are succeeding with your diet, let us know what you're doing to succeed. If you're failing, what's causing your failures? And what are some things that you can do that will make staying on your diet easier than the alternative? I'm gonna switch over here. Hello, everybody. Rick and Cindy and Pretty Girl's mom, Christy and Janet. Thanks, everybody, for checking out today's video here, or being on the live stream. Had a really good evening last night. I'm trying to think of what we even did. I was watching the kids. I had a night with just me and the kids. It was really nice to just hang out and relax a little bit. So it was a good night. I'll see if I took food photos. I don't know that I did. I'm pretty sure I took a photo of dinner last night. So let me get that going here. I'm gonna suppose I can show a couple other things. So took 2 photos of food. So last night for dinner, Carrie just kind of made a real simple dinner because she was going out. And so I guess I say real simple. It's a much more simple dinner before we started this diet. Now that we're doing the diet, it's a little bit more complicated because Carrie made the marinara sauce herself as opposed to buying like a store-bought marinara sauce. But for dinner last night, we had brown rice noodles and marinara. It was really good. The marinara was a little bit different than we had in the past, but I really enjoyed it, and it was a good meal and very filling meal at that. And then I got, let me see if I can get the photo. There we go. I have it's telling me that it doesn't like me. Let me see. There we go. I'll leave that up for a second here. So that's the oatmeal that we had this morning. I don't have any other, I don't have any photos of lunch, but lunch was the same as pretty much every day for the last week. I had potatoes and broccoli for lunch today. I did have Carrie we ended up cooking a lot of cooked a lot of potatoes today, and I was eating a few of them. It's like I graze on potatoes all day sometimes, that I go through and I just kind of grab a couple of them right after they get cooked and let them cool down. And then it was good to have that in my lunch today too. Another thing, and it's not weigh-in Wednesday, but I was going to show this. I checked my weight this morning, and for me, this was kind of a huge milestone. I talked about it, and I don't know that I'll still be this light come next Wednesday on weigh-in Wednesday, but I got on the scale this morning. I was 285 pounds. After I ate breakfast, I was actually a little bit lighter before I had breakfast. So it's really nice to see the weight continuing to come off. I've been feeling really good this past week, and so I'm happy with that. But it's not an official weigh-in, but it is. I just thought I'd share that because those are some numbers I have never seen as an adult. Especially this morning before I had breakfast, the 283.6 is just incredible and really amazing to me to see that and to have kind of it going quickly right now, like it just, it's nice. So a couple comments here. Cindy says that you heard a great saying today while Chef AJ had her guests. Don't focus on your goals. Instead, focus on your habits that will take you to them. It's always you versus you. And that might be some of, like I read the Atomic Habits book, and he talks maybe a little bit about that too, it's about creating habits. It's about linking, creating a chain of habits. And so, yes, it is something where, you have to, and then like you said, it's you versus you, and your ability to stick to those habits or to stay. Carrie here says that she had a little bit of cauliflower with hers today. I did not have cauliflower. She said it was a nice change. I decided not to. It was a lady named Rachel that was on Chef AJ. She had lost 100 pounds and it was an incredible transformation. That's awesome. It's great to hear about people that are losing weight with this diet and having success on eating this way. Rick says he had potatoes and broccoli too. Yes. And let's see. Rachel did get her quote from Atomic Habits. She got, okay. So that would be that where I kind of recognized that from was that kind of, that book there. So yeah, and there was a lot that I learned from that book, or not even so much that I learned from the book, but in listening to the book, I realized how my actions were kind of matching some of the things that he said. One of the points that he makes is like when you decide to do something, you need to give yourself a goal and set a timeline. And, that's kind of like with my challenge here. I'm going to lose 300 pounds within 3 years. You give yourself a goal and you give yourself a time to get it done. And that helps to solidify it, when you set that goal, which is something that I didn't intentionally do when I started the channel, but by doing that, I kind of stumbled into what he talks about from his book there. One of the things I was going to talk about today, and I actually called Carrie on my way to work to give her a hard time about it, because this morning I was heading to work and just kind of in my head about really like how good I've been feeling the last week, about just, I feel thinner, my clothing's fitting better, my belt is getting even looser than it was a week ago. Just things seem to be moving really well this past week. And I was trying to figure out what changed between 2 weeks ago and 3 weeks ago and this past week that would have made a difference, because my diet really hasn't been any different these past 2 months. I've been pretty set on the whole food, plant-based, salt, oil, sugar free, and had no issues with staying on it. And I'd seen success here and there. And, and I did have like a 5-6 pound weight loss a month ago. So, but like I said, I was just trying to figure out what had changed. And it was something, as I was thinking about it, I had to call Carrie and give her kind of grief about it because it's something that she had given me not a little bit of a hard time about, but it's something that she noticed was that within the last couple weeks, there was a video game that I enjoy playing that they came out with a new version of the video game. And I really hadn't been playing video games at all. And so this past week or past 2 weeks at night, after we get the kids to bed, I've kind of been sneaking over to the computer to play this video game for an hour or two before bed. And the reason why I think that that had any impact on my weight or and what I'm getting at is that by being at the computer and playing that game, it put me in a different spot of the house. Usually I'm on the main floor of the house, or I'm near the kitchen, near the dining room. And I tend to grab snacks later in the day. They're not any snacks I ever feel guilty about grabbing. It's generally an apple or a banana or some oranges, but I do tend to snack later in the day. And by playing the video games, I changed my routine a little bit, and it got me out. It keeps me away from the kitchen at night, and it's reduced that late night eating. And so I think that the video game is not exactly what's caused me to lose the weight, but the reduction of late night snacking may be what's affecting my weight. Also, I've had a lot of stress for the past 6 to 8 months, and that might be a little bit of a stress reliever playing a video game like that. And so what I guess my point is, you don't have to go play video games to lose weight, but maybe find a hobby, find something that you can do that will take you away from the kitchen or take you away from the dining room, occupy your time, and not be around food. Carrie says, ugh, video games. Yes. Yeah. And Rick here says that he doesn't eat past 6 p.m. Cindy says that she usually stops eating 4 hours before going to bed. And I've heard lots of suggestions to do that, to not eat within a couple hours of going to bed. And I've never really, worried too much about it because I've continued to lose weight at a rate that I've been happy at. And when I haven't lost weight, I've been kind of, there's been other causes to why I haven't lost weight. So eating late wasn't anything that was ever on my radar or something that, like I said, I thought was slowing down my progress. Janet here says kitchen closed after dinner. And that would be something that I need to work more towards. Where I think some of it stemmed was when I first started the diet, I was eating kind of like 2 meals a day. I didn't have a great lunch option, or I didn't have the ability to make myself lunch or have lunch like I do now. So I would eat oatmeal in the morning, and then really throughout the whole work day, I wouldn't eat. And if I did eat, it would be like a can of corn or some pineapple or something really simple that I could make. I had lots of shredded wheat for lunch, kind of, but it wasn't a regular thing, and at one point in this channel, if you've been following me long enough, I was talking about how I thought 2 meals a day was a good plan to go on, to eat early in the morning and then like another 8-hour fast between when you eat and when you eat dinner. But what it caused me to do was do a ton of eating in the afternoon. I would eat breakfast. It would satisfy me throughout the day. By the time I got home, I was really very hungry. So I would eat dinner, usually a second portion of dinner. And then after dinner, and this is back when I was first started this and I could kind of get away with these things, but I would make Ezekiel bread and put nut butter on them, or have shredded wheat with raisins or pineapple in it. And so that kind of got me into this mode of eating a lot in the evening, or eating the entire time, from the time I got home really till about the time I went to bed, I was eating. And I was doing that really to just get a satisfying amount of food in my body. Now it's changed, or my environment's changed, and my situation's changed, and I eat a lot more food at lunch. And so I'm eating a huge portion of food at lunch, which then I do notice since doing this, I am eating less at night, and I had cut out the Ezekiel bread, which was a huge part of what was getting me through those nights when I was doing 2 meals a day. Um, and and Carrie even says, yeah, you did eat a lot more in the evenings back then, because my body, everybody has a set volume of food that their body is going to want them to eat to be satisfied. And my volume of food wasn't being satisfied when I was eating 2 meals a day very well, or I was eating a lot of food in the evenings to make up for the lack of lunch. So having lunch now puts more calories in my stomach. I'm not as hungry when I get home. I still love to eat when I get home, and I usually do have a serving, sometimes 2 servings of dinner. But like last night, I only had 1 serving of that because it was very filling. The stewed chickpeas we had, I also only had 1 serving of that. So I also did kind of eat a little bit less. But both times I felt very satisfied in this past week with the day. I talked a little bit about this with Chef AJ yesterday in the interview I did with her, but I don't ever go to bed hungry. Like that's something that is not part of this diet at all. You know, I used to go on my old diets that I had seen success or I thought were successful diets. I was always hungry. I was always going to bed hungry. I was always fighting temptation. And now it seems so much easier on this diet than any other diet I've done. And for me, it's a big part. I'm on day 768 eating this way, or eating a plant-based diet, or eating a vegan diet, I guess, but mostly eating a whole food plant-based diet. Most of the time I've been salt, oil, sugar free. And it's really not, there's so many diets that I failed and fell off of and never got back on. And one of the points I made with her was that when I started this, it was like a rocket ship, and I was losing an incredible amount of weight. Obviously, doing the water fast, you're going to lose a ton of weight. But even after I started eating a whole food plant-based diet, I was still doing incredible and losing an incredible amount of weight. And it wasn't really until, it wasn't until I got hit with the torn distal bicep tendon that my weight loss started to slow down. And once that weight loss started to slow down, I think that that's kind of what allowed me to trick myself into allowing those pleasure trap foods into my diet. So, but any other diet that I would compare this to, I don't think I get back on it. Like that's because it's happened, and it wasn't even as dramatic of a thing as having a torn distal bicep tendon. But in the past, I had been on these diets and set and doing it, and something little came up, knocked me off course, and I was never able to recorrect myself and get back on course. And this diet has been, for me, unique in that way, that I've always been able to get back on track. And what has helped me is that when I get back on track, within a few days, I feel physically better. I feel an improvement when I get back on this diet. And I don't know that that's the case with other diets. I think that you are, that if you're still eating the processed foods and losing weight, your body doesn't get to that healthful feeling like my body is at now, in my opinion. Like when I had lost a ton of weight in 2013, I was about the exact same weight or as I am now. I didn't feel this good back then. I know I was tired back then. I know it was a drag on me, and I know that it was unsustainable. And that's so much different than what I'm doing now. And I'm so happy that this diet allows me to figure that out and to get back on track. Janet says here, it is a process. You used to eat more, but now you notice if you stop at dinner, your stomach has a chance to empty by the next morning, and food tastes so much better when your stomach's empty in the morning. Okay. And then Cindy says, if snacks are chosen, I think mindfulness of caloric density should be at the forefront. Yes. And that was, for me, I never felt guilty about the snacking that I was doing because most of the snacking I was doing was fruit, and that isn't very high in calorie density. But if I found a way to snack on vegetables, it would be even lower in calorie density. So yes, if you need to look at the calorie density of what you're snacking on, if you're gonna snack on the nuts and the dried fruits, you really have to be careful, especially if you're looking to lose weight. You can have, you can have some room for it in your diet, but it can't be a regular part of your diet. You can't have a bag of cashews in your cupboard just waiting for you to grab and eat and snack on. But if you're going to make a sauce that has cashews in it, then that's a little bit different. You still don't want to be covering the food in a cashew sauce, but you can, you could use it in cooking. It's more beneficial, or it's not more, but it's less harmful, I suppose, because at least with me and on my diet, I'm mixing it with a much lower calorie dense food, thus making the plate in front of me a lower than 600 calorie per pound dish, if that makes sense. But yes, you have to be careful about what you're snacking on, because the nuts, the almonds, the cashews, those can really pack on the pounds, and you're putting a lot of excess fats too in your body that if you're looking to lose weight, your goal should be to reduce the amount of fat that you're putting into your body as much as possible. And then Janet wants to know what you're making for dinner tonight, Carrie. I don't know if she even told me what she was planning on making, but I'm sure it'll be wonderful and delicious. And Janet, are you back home, or are you still out in at the clinic there at True North? I know you guys were wrapping up. Your husband was wrapping up his fast, I think, the last you said, and then you were juicing, I think, or maybe you got back to real food. Was the last you did? So leaving tomorrow. That's great. And I think it's awesome that you were able to be out there and have that experience. I hope that the reason for you going out there, I hope it finds a solution, or it helped out all over, all together, and you were back to all food. Carrie says we might have a big salad tonight. She has some big mushrooms that would be wonderful marinated on top. Yes, it sounds amazing. I love having the marinated mushrooms in with it. And it really helps, because something that I have done different in the past, really since this past 2 months, and we haven't had salad a lot in the past 2 months, but when I'm sorry, I just kicked my microphone. When we've had salads, I haven't been putting a dressing on it the last few times, and it doesn't taste as good as if I had some sort of dressing on it, probably, but I still really enjoy the taste of it. I really taste the flavors of all the vegetables that we put in there. Usually there's red peppers and onions and carrots and celery and cucumber. And without the dressing, it really allows me to taste all of the flavors of the food. The other thing that it kind of does is that it really slows down how fast that I eat the salad. And in the end, I feel so full. Like, and I've always felt full from the salads that we make, because we take a large mixing bowl and fill it with spinach and vegetables and all the ingredients I already mentioned. And then we split that between the two of us. So what we eat, what I eat for dinner as a salad is probably 2 times as big as any salad I've ever bought at a restaurant. Like when we eat salad, it is an incredible amount of salad. Let's see. Carrie says that, Janet says that you had plantains today. That sounds delicious. Carrie says she's on the fence about what to make, but we need to use the mushrooms. Let's see. And then Tennyson Yoga Girl says that you just consumed spaghetti squash with zucchini and marinara sauce. Yum. Yes, I really like it when we have the spaghetti squash too, and that's really something we haven't had for a very long time. Janet's asking if we've ever had Chef AJ's stuffed portobellos. And I do not know that we have. She says, do you think you can find, Carrie's asking if the recipe's online. She does have one of Chef AJ's cookbooks on her Christmas list, so hopefully we get that. And then Carrie says to her that she made marinara sauce yesterday. I talked a little bit about that when I was talking about my food earlier, that spaghetti used to be a lot easier before we started eating this way, because you could just buy a jar of marinara sauce, and then that changed, and it's really fun. I think it might have been in Salt, Sugar, Fat, the book I read, but they talk about marinara and how marinara sauce has kind of really changed the grocery store, because at one point it was just one marinara sauce or one type of marinara sauce, and then they started releasing different types, like a chunkier version, and then it's kind of where this marinara competition thing came in, and then you started to see a variety of these things at the store, as opposed to just one version of it. And then that kind of I'm not exactly sure how the book, but capitalism kind of steps in at that point too, is that you're trying to get shelf space, you're trying to get consumers to buy your stuff over the competitors. And just that marinara sauce was that just popped in my head when we were talking about marinara sauce, and how it's kind of affected our society in a weird way that, you can't say that it's, no way to say it was that specifically, but that kind of mentality, that kind of mindset at the grocery store and by these companies has led us to having these crazy varieties of food and all of that. Carrie said she found a YouTube video of it, and she'll have to check it out. And she usually puts the recipe in the show notes below the video. They are really good, and it makes a hefty portion. So yeah, we'll have to check out the Chef AJ's stuffed portobellos, and see what kind of recipe that is, or how that is, how that goes. But I kind of got lost here because I went on a tangent about marinara sauce I wasn't intending to talk about. Yeah, I'm overjoyed with how good I feel right now, and I'm looking forward to the next week. The kind of the arc of my weight loss is that I'm generally the lightest on Friday, and then Monday I come back, either about the same as I left Friday, or a little heavier. The weekend tends to weigh on me, right? um, but but it's really nice to see the scale going in that direction. And if we have salad for dinner tonight, it's going to be crazy, because that doesn't weigh nothing, and it fills up my gut. Janet says you're off to your exit visit with Dr. Verse. That's our Verese. I'm not sure how do you see that, but have a good weekend. And that's awesome. Well, congratulations on getting through your time out there. And keep updating us on how you're doing when you get back home too. That's awesome. So, yeah, I trying to think of the other thing I was going to talk about there. I guess the thing, if you're struggling with the diet and you're struggling with going from diet to diet, I know how tough it can be. And because I did it for years and years, until it really got to a point where I just gave up. And for the past 8-9 years, I had given no consideration about my health or my diet, and I really had given up. And I kind of thought that there was going to be no diet that worked for me. I didn't think that it would be possible for me to be a healthy weight. And it wasn't possible for me to have a healthy weight because of my mindset and because of what I knew at the time. It's if I knew then what I knew now, that I know now, right? But the thing that, I look back and I get frustrated with all the years I wasted, pretty much my entire 30s, from the time, it really, yeah, at least, pretty much my entire 30s, I wasted it being overweight and thinking that I was just destined to be that way. And I wish I would never have quit, but I just got so frustrated with it, like I felt like what I did in 2013 was kind of as close as I was going to get to actually having like surgery, because I was seeing a doctor, I was being monitored, I was taking a prescription that was, that I was eating like somebody who had bariatric surgery. Like the volume of food that I was eating would probably have been what somebody who had had some sort of surgery would have been able to eat. But I was able to maintain that because of the prescription. I didn't have the surgery. And when that failed me, I think I was just always, I think I just was like, I'll just have to have surgery. If I want to fix this problem, I'm just going to have surgery to fix the problem. And it's something I never wanted to do. And that's why I didn't do it. Because in the back of my head, I guess one of the problems was that in the back of my head was the whole time I had that as a fallback for me, because I never really had any other health issues. I never had other underlying health issues that would have kept me from being able to have the surgery. And I've seen the shows, like the 600-Pound Life, where they talk about the process, and I've looked at the process. I hadn't looked into it like deep to actually pursuing it for myself, but I have looked into it, or, being 500 pounds, it definitely, your curiosity is going to have you looking at it. But, I totally lost my train of thought with it. Was eating that way. I gave up, and I thought that was, that I always had that as a fallback, like, because I could lose 30 pounds quick. Like every time I went on a diet, and within the first, 2 weeks, I was down 15, 20 pounds, just because my body was struggling to maintain the weight I was. The only way I was able to stay the weight I was at was because of how much food that I was eating and how much I was consuming. So whenever I tried to diet, I'd reduce the amount of food I ate, I'd lose weight, because my body didn't want to be that heavy, but it was because I kept feeding it food, more and more food. And so the that having that as a fallback had kind of caused me to procrastinate doing anything. I think that it would have taken some sort of health issue that a doctor would have been like, hey, you have to fix your weight or this health issue is going to get worse. And then that's when I would have taken the steps. Like I was procrastinating till I got to a point where I got sick enough that I felt like having surgery would be worth it for me. And in doing that, I wasted years and years of my life. And I don't know, in 2013, when I fell off that diet, I don't know that I find a plant-based diet. But if I had continued to look, if I had kept looking and kept trying to find the solution, then it's possible that I would have found it. It might have been in 2017 or 2019, but it would have been sooner than 2020. And that is, it's a regret for me that I didn't find this sooner, and it's not like it's not my fault though. I didn't know about it. Like it wasn't, the knowledge wasn't out there. The information wasn't out there. And Carrie says that it's scary that at 400 to 500 pounds, you are waiting for a health issue to force you to be serious about your health. And that she is forever thankful about this way of eating. Yeah, but that's what I was waiting for, a health scare. Like, where's it at? And, but I also had an aversion to going to the doctor because I didn't want the doctor to tell me that my problems were because of my weight. And, had I gone to the doctor about my ankle, and it's tough for me to, like, that was fairly scary, but it still wasn't scary enough to do something. Some of what caused me to push that was that in 2018, I fasted and it cleared up some of that. Like the swelling went down and the sores that I had, dried up while I was fasting for that 30 days. So I kind of had that as well, if that gets bad enough again, I'll fast and it'll fix that problem. And it did fix that problem somewhat, this time again. But if I would have gone to a doctor, my legs swelling up, I had a friend of mine who's had all kinds of circulation issues with his legs. And like the week before I started this challenge, he noticed my leg, because I used to wear really baggy pants, so you wouldn't really tell, but he could kind of tell that the pant leg was tight around my right ankle. And he called me out about it. He's like, what's going on with your ankle? Because like I said, he had issues with circulation. So he knew that it's not something that you just let go. And so I kind of pushed him off because I was like, well, I'm starting this thing in like 4 days and I'm hoping that it helps, when it was right before I started this challenge. But if I'd have gone to a doctor, we would have done testing, who knows what we would have found was happening with that leg, but it could have been much more serious than I was letting it play in my head, even though I still thought it was somewhat serious. And that could have been the conversation that led me down a different path, and gone that way. And then Anthony here's asking, do we have a link for the Mega Veggie Chili? I think it is on the Pinterest board. If the thing about the Mega Veggie Chili is that if there is a recipe, I don't know that we follow it directly, and maybe Carrie can throw it up on the Discord, but because with a lot of these foods and a lot of these recipes, there is Carrie says it is on the Pinterest board. It's one of the first 10 recipes. So it's at the very bottom of the board. Yeah, the older the recipe, the bottom of the board. But with a lot of these recipes, they were made with either the creator, the taste buds of the creator in mind of the recipe, or the taste buds of a mass of people, so that it is more popular. But what I feel like that we've done a good job at is take these recipes and change them to fit our taste preferences and what what we like to have. So if the recipe, or like a lot of recipes that we find in books, they have salt as part of the recipe. We just remove the parts of the recipe that we don't eat, and we kind of adjust it for our own taste. So our mega veggie chili, if you make it, I don't know that you're going to like it as much as me and Carrie like our mega veggie chili. And what really I like about our mega veggie chili is we have this chipotle seasoning sauce that we use. And that really gives it its flavor overall. But the ingredients of it, it might call for less jalapeno. We put more jalapeno in. It does other stuff. And Carrie's saying that you should try the mushroom polenta meal. That's kind of one of our new, if you're not vegan, try this meal out kind of things. One of the meals that we used to make a lot for people, if they were coming to visit, was the chickpea tikka masala. And we really don't eat that hardly ever. Now that I mentioned it out loud, it'll probably be on Carrie's mind, and then we'll have chickpea tikka masala sometime. But we generally avoid the chickpea tikka masala because of the coconut that is in it. Yeah, that the polenta is a recipe I think most people would like. The textures may be a little bit different with the grits or the polenta, but it's like grits. But yeah, that's a really good meal. That nutritional yeast really gives that a good flavor, and then the balsamic vinegar as well. But yeah, the mega veggie chili is a great recipe, and it's really, mega veggie chili to me is the flagship of our diet. Like, it was the initial meal that I started liking. That was I've told this story many times, but neuroadaptation is a thing with your taste buds. And just like I'm in a bright room right now with light shining on me. If I walk out of this room, I'm not going to be able to see as well because it'll be darker. Our taste buds are the same way. We're living in an environment where we're constantly beat with this bright light, and so our eyes are very dilated, or not dilated, whatever the opposite of dilated is. So our food is so rich, and we're that way. But then you get out of that food system and you start eating a whole food plant-based diet, you can't see for a little bit. You're walking into a dark room and you're disoriented, and it takes time for your body to recognize that these foods are healthy and they're good and they're satisfying. And so when we first had mega veggie chili, I stomached it. I didn't, complain one way or another, because at the time I was just happy to be eating. I just fasted for 42 days. Everything tasted decent, but it was 2 or 3 weeks in. Same meal, probably very similar recipe. We may have changed it a little bit for our own tastes, but I was amazed that I'm sitting here eating the same thing that I was kind of, 2 weeks ago, I was begrudgingly like, oh, we're having this again, and then, a week or two later, I'm like, this is amazing. Everything in this tastes amazing. So, yeah, I think that's going to be my update for today. I plan on live streaming again tomorrow for Friday, or on Friday, getting ready for the weekend here. I appreciate all you guys, the support, the conversation, the sharing your stories, what's going on with you and how things are going. I really appreciate all that. All the comments that people leave. I really appreciate the comments after the live stream as well. Lots of great suggestions and advice that everybody gives. And I really enjoy having this accountability group. I feel like I want to show up for you guys and succeed. So I really appreciate that you follow along and you take the time to watch my videos, even when they're 45 minutes long. But I will be live tomorrow. If you have not subscribed to the channel, get subscribed to the channel. If you've not clicked on the bell icon, click on the bell icon down below. If you've not, hit the thumbs up and commented. Make sure you do that to help out that YouTube algorithm. And if you have not started your diet yet, get started now, guys. You know, I mentioned it before. I have a regret that I didn't keep pursuing it in 2013. I was already at 285 pounds. If I would have righted the course and found something and kept doing it and not quit, you know, I'd be in such a different spot. There's nobody that reaches their goals and looks back and says they wish they would have waited. Everybody looks back and says, I wish I would have started a year ago, 2 years ago, 7 years ago, 10 years ago. If I'd have known then what I know now, you know. So get started, guys. I will see you tomorrow.